Armed HOA agents came for us. Too bad my wife, a green beret, was locked in. They sent armed men to intimidate us. She sent them home humbled. The moment I saw 3 armed men walking toward my porch in HOA polos, I knew someone had made the dumbest decision of their life. It was just after 8 a.m. The Arizona sun was climbing, already stinging the back of my neck as I checked the solar inverter readouts. The chickens were squawking over some invisible drama. The coffee in my mug was still hot. And then I saw them. 3 men. Matching tactical pants. Branded HOA shirts, like someone thought polyester embroidery gave them jurisdiction. They weren't holding weapons, but their sidearms were holstered. Legal in this state, yes. Intimidating? Absolutely. I wasn't worried. But I was done pretending this was normal. We lived 12 miles outside the city limit. 12 peaceful, dusty, free miles. My wife Claire and I bought this land 5 years ago after we both had our fill of civilized living. I'd worked in systems engineering. Claire had done things most people only saw in movies. Green beret. Recon. Real deal soldier. Now she spent her days raising dogs, mending fences, and, lately, recovering from minor surgery. Stuck in bed, she'd been antsy. But calm. Until this moment. I set my mug on the porch rail and walked to the gate. The tallest of the 3 stepped forward. Maybe mid-40s, buzz-cut, mirrored Oakleys. He looked like someone who still said Semper Fi at barbecues but never served a day. Good morning, he said, voice stiff. Are you Mr. Mercer? Depends who's asking. Sandstone Ridge HOA Compliance Patrol. He said it like it was a badge. I raised an eyebrow. This isn't Sandstone Ridge. He nodded, smug. We're aware. But your property uses the shared easement through HOA-maintained access. As such, we're authorized to conduct inspections. No, you're not. We sent a notice last month. I sent it back. Unopened. He shifted his weight. Sir, refusal to comply with inspection may result in legal consequences. We're authorized under community code, which doesn't apply here. I leaned against the gate. Claire was watching from the window. I saw the curtain flick, then still. She was quiet, but I knew the wheels were turning. Buzzcut tried again. We'd like to conduct a quick visual perimeter review. Make sure you're not storing unregulated equipment or obstructing runoff zones. You want to inspect my fencing and rain barrels? It's routine. It's trespassing. He took a step forward. The others followed. I moved fast, not aggressive, just firm, and stood in front of the latch. Take one more step and you'll meet my wife. He smirked. That's supposed to scare us? No, I said. That's supposed to give you a chance to walk away with your ego intact. That's when I heard the front door open. Claire stepped out, slow and steady. She was wearing sweats, hair tied back, a compression wrap still visible beneath her hoodie. Even heeling, she moved with quiet control. The kind that makes people question everything. She stopped beside me. Buzzcut opened his mouth. Then he saw the tattoo on her forearm. A dagger through a lightning bolt. Special Forces. Real. He blinked. Claire didn't say a word. She just looked at him. The kind of look that could defuse bombs or start wars depending on what came next. He cleared his throat. We're just trying to ensure property compliance. Claire spoke low and level. Under what statute? Community Guidelines. Page 12. That's not a statute. That's HOA paper. This is private land. And if you step past that fence, you'll be violating Arizona Title 13 to 1502. Criminal trespass in the 3rd degree. His mouth twitched. I've notified the county sheriff's department, Claire continued. They'll be here shortly. Would you like to wait and explain to them why you're wearing a loaded sidearm while threatening homeowners? The silence was incredible. Even the chickens stopped. Buzzcut looked at his buddies. One was already backing up. We'll, follow up through official channels. You do that, I said. They walked back down the dirt road slower than they came in. I watched them the whole way. Claire didn't move. Once they were gone, she exhaled. Long and controlled. You all right? I asked. She nodded. Angrier than I look. But yeah. You didn't have to come out. They stepped onto our land. I smiled. You looked like a warning label. She laughed, winced slightly. You record it? I nodded. Every second. Good, she said. Time to make a few calls. That night, I uploaded the footage. Nothing fancy. Just a Dropbox folder titled HOA Trespass 7:58 a.m., full interaction. Then I sent it to 3 people. Sheriff Maddox, level-headed, no-nonsense lawman. Known Claire for years. Diane Quinn, retired land rights attorney. Local legend. My neighbor Donnie, who'd once told me an HOA rep slashed his tires after he refused to pay dues on land he didn't owe. Within 24 hours, Diane called. Her voice was sharp. They're bluffing, she said. They always have been. Your easement was federalized back in 1972 under the Desert Route Utility Clause. It's not even in their jurisdiction. They claimed maintenance rights. They lied. Claire sat across from me at the kitchen table, arms crossed. Diane continued, and if those men were armed, that's grounds for unlawful threat. Especially if one of them touched the gate. They didn't cross. Doesn't matter. You need to get documentation. Old surveys. Road agreements. I'll help. I thanked her. Hung up. Claire stood. Let's find the box. We went to the garage. Dug through years of contracts, deed copies, land maps. And there it was, folded in a plastic sleeve. Federal Easement Authorization, Marker 44B, Mercer Property. Stamp. Dated. Filed. Claire tapped it. This isn't just proof. It's ammunition. We scanned it. Uploaded everything. Then Claire created a Google Drive titled Rural Defense File, Access by Invite Only. By the end of the week, 5 other neighbors had been added. We weren't just protecting ourselves. We were building something. Something the HOA couldn't see coming. It started with 5. 5 neighbors. 5 different parcels. 5 stories of quiet threats. Donnie, who had a warning sticker placed on his water tank. Lucia, whose generator was mysteriously reported to the fire marshal. Ethan, a veteran like Claire who'd been sent 3 final notices for HOA fees he never owed. And Beth, a widow in her 60s, who'd found a handwritten citation taped to her chicken coop reading. Non-compliant structure, remove or fine. She thought it was official. It wasn't. We added them to the drive. Gave them access to our easement scans, the HOA visit footage, and a shared doc we called Tactics. Claire organized it like a military field brief. Timeline of HOA aggression. Known patrol members, names/photos pulled from Facebook. GPS-marked easement boundary overlays. Legal statutes cited with Diane's notes in margin. It was more than evidence. It was strategy. That week, Donnie called me from his truck, voice rough from disbelief. Jason, they just threatened to limit my gate access unless I pay a safety compliance deposit. That even a thing? I replied calmly, send me the letter. He did. Claire highlighted 3 misspelled sections and a forged HOA seal. Diane confirmed it, no record of such a fund. So Claire sent Donnie a draft of a cease and desist letter citing Arizona Statute 33 to 1808. He signed, emailed, and printed 2 copies, one taped to his gate. The HOA didn't reply. 2 days later, Lucia reported a compliance truck driving by slowly, headlights off. She called Claire in a panic. We drove over. Claire knocked on her door, handed her a motion sensor spotlight, and helped install it above her driveway. Eyes up, she said. They want you to feel small. This'll remind them who's watching. That same night, I added a new folder to the drive. Surveillance and field notes. Neighbors began uploading photos, timestamps, and GPS logs of every patrol sighting. Claire cross-referenced their times with HOA emails obtained through a whistleblower, a former secretary who still had access to cleanup schedules Brent called rural enforcement runs. Everywhere we looked, the pattern deepened. These weren't just compliance checks. This was targeted intimidation. The HOA wanted us quiet, isolated, compliant by fear. What they didn't realize was they'd triggered the opposite. We weren't dividing. We were organizing. A week later we held the first in-person meetup. Claire called it Briefing Alpha. We didn't advertise it. Just passed the word privately. We met in our barn, lights low, snacks set out, lawn chairs in a circle. Everyone was nervous. Until Claire stood in front of them, whiteboard at her back, and said, "You're not alone. You're not wrong. And starting tonight, you're not unarmed." She laid out the full map, easement history, county line shifts, HOA charter boundaries. Showed that at least 6 parcels had been improperly flagged. They can't enforce laws they don't own. But they're counting on you not knowing that. Then she handed everyone a printed guide. HOA Overreach Response Protocol. We watched their eyes widen. Lucia whispered, "Why isn't this a thing already?" Claire smiled. "It is now." We finished the night with a drone demo. I flew mine along our road boundary, live streaming to a tablet. Claire pointed out markers, violations, and GPS anchors. Donnie laughed for the first time in weeks. I didn't know my dirt road had more security than a military base. Claire didn't laugh. She nodded. Now it does. The next phase was riskier. Claire proposed a formal injunction filing against the HOA's compliance patrol to bar them from setting foot on non-HOA parcels. We needed more data, so we baited them. I installed a brand new, obviously unconnected solar panel rig 6 feet inside our legal line. We placed a plastic decoy barrel beside it marked Diesel Reserve. Pure bluff. Then we waited. 3 days later, Brent himself showed up, phone in one hand, 2 men flanking him. He pointed, shouted toward our cameras and took photos. Claire had positioned a GoPro in the brush. Got the whole thing. He crossed the line. Again. That night, we filed a formal trespass report with the sheriff. Claire walked it in herself. 2 deputies came the next morning. Friendly. Curious. We offered coffee. Showed them the footage. Diane was present via Zoom. Deputy Greenleaf, sharp-eyed, quiet, asked, "Do you know if Brent's HOA security guys are registered?" Claire tilted her head. "You think they are?" He smiled. "No. But it'd be helpful to prove they aren't." 2 days later, the sheriff's office confirmed it. Brent had not filed any private security license or patrol authorization. And then came the twist. He'd been using the HOA's Road Maintenance Reimbursement Fund, drawn from county support grants, to pay for his volunteers' gas, shirts, and even equipment allowances. Diane whistled through her teeth when she read the receipts. "That's not just civil violation," she said. "That's grant fraud." Claire compiled it all. The footage. The fake invoices. The photos of Brent trespassing. The forged stickers. The targeting patterns. She labeled the report. Operation Blindside, documented harassment and fraud by Sandstone Ridge HOA. And then we sent it. 1 copy to the county attorney. 1 to the sheriff's office. 1 to our local news affiliate's investigative team. And 1 to every resident of Sandstone Ridge, anonymously via email. No commentary. No dramatic subject line. Just, "You deserve to know." 3 days of silence. Then it all broke loose. Brent's name hit the news. HOA president under investigation for harassment, unlicensed security operations. HOA members started posting screenshots of the documents on Facebook. One man wrote, "We trusted this guy? He tried to get my sister to pay for a fence extension permit on her own land." Within a week, the HOA board called an emergency meeting. We weren't invited. Didn't matter. Claire already knew what was coming next. "Brent's going to play victim," she said, flipping through county code. "Blame bad advice. Say the patrol was overzealous or misunderstood." She paused. "Which is why we're not done." I raised an eyebrow. "We're not." She turned her laptop. Opened a file marked Phase 3, Public Accountability. Inside were plans for a public community forum, hosted on our land. She titled it, "Know Your Line, Defending Private Land Rights in HOA Shadow Zones." And she invited the sheriff, Diane, and the press. The day of the forum, I woke up at dawn to find Claire already outside, chalk-lining parking spaces on our gravel pad with the same precision she once used to set tripwires. "This isn't just a meeting," she said without looking up. "It's a battlefield of perception." I knew better than to interrupt. By noon, the barn was prepped. Folding chairs in tight rows, banners printed in bold red font reading, "Know Your Line, Rural Land Defense for Non-HOA Properties." Guest, County Attorney's Office, Sheriff's Department, Land Use Law. Claire had written and rehearsed a 12-minute opener. I wasn't allowed to read it in advance. "Trust me," she'd said. By 1:30, trucks started rolling in. Dust clouds. Boots on gravel. More people than we expected. Way more. About 60 locals, maybe 70. Some from our easement, others from nearby developments. Even a few from inside the HOA. Claire greeted each one personally, shaking hands with that firm, focused grip that made people stand up straighter. By 2 o'clock, Diane Quinn arrived, hair tied back, thick binder in hand. The sheriff's deputy, Greenleaf, pulled in right behind her. And to everyone's surprise, even ours, a silver Prius parked next to the barn. Out stepped reporter Maya Price from Valley Now News, camera crew in tow. Claire raised an eyebrow. "You invited press?" I shook my head. "Didn't need to." Someone forwarded her the file. Claire smiled. "Perfect." She took the front without a mic, didn't need one. Her voice was clear, calm, and clipped with just enough steel to hold every eye in the room. "My name is Claire Mercer. This land belongs to me and my husband. And for the last several months, we've been the target of illegal intimidation under the false banner of compliance." She paused. "Let it breathe." Some of you here have faced it too. Letters, visits, fines that aren't fines. Armed strangers in HOA polos standing on your property like they own it. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Claire opened a binder. This is what they didn't expect. Evidence, maps, statutes, timelines, and most of all, neighbors talking to neighbors. She stepped aside and motioned to a projection screen. The first slide appeared. The Sandstone Scheme, Timeline of HOA Overreach. Diane took over briefly, pointing to jurisdiction lines. She showed how 6 parcels, ours included, sat outside HOA bounds yet had received over a dozen fraudulent notices. Then she dropped the big one. Mr. Calloway submitted county reimbursement forms with forged owner signatures, including Mr. Mercer's. Gasp. Actual gasps. Someone shouted, "That's fraud." Another, "I paid those fees last year." Claire stepped back up. "We've filed formal complaints. A criminal review is underway. But this forum isn't about waiting for justice, it's about reclaiming awareness." Then she clicked the next slide. How to defend your land from HOA overreach. She walked through 5 tactics. Install clear boundary markers with legal signage. Record every interaction. Demand written documentation for all requests. Challenge jurisdiction with plat maps and county code. Never stand alone, organize quietly then speak loudly. By the time she finished, people were standing. Not to leave, to applaud. Maya caught it all on camera. But not everyone clapped. Halfway through the Q&A, a voice called out from the back. "This is a witch hunt. You're fear-mongering." It was Brad Tate, one of Brent's closest board members. HOA through and through. Claire didn't flinch. "You're welcome to refute any claim with evidence." He waved a pamphlet. "You've turned people against their own communities. This is going to divide the neighborhood." "No," Claire replied. "This is going to protect it." Division was already here. It wore a uniform and carried a clipboard. He turned red. Brent had good intentions. Intentions don't override the law. He stormed out. No one followed. The fallout started that night. The Valley Now clip aired by 10 p.m. titled, "Green Beret turned landowner leads anti-HOA forum. You will not intimidate us." The thumbnail? Claire standing in front of the screen mid-sentence, with the words "Know Your Line" glowing behind her. It hit 200,000 views in 2 days. Brent went dark. No press statements. No HOA newsletter. But HOA members started showing up on our driveway, not in anger but with questions. One woman, early 50s, shook Claire's hand and whispered, "I didn't know. I'm sorry." Another, a young father, asked for a copy of the easement guide. Said he was worried his mother's property was next. We made everything public. No paywall. No ego. Just truth. Then came the threats. Not loud. Not legal. Just odd. Our mailbox disappeared one night. A dead snake was left coiled on our fence post. Drone buzzed our window around midnight. Claire didn't panic. She printed photos of every incident, added them to the drive, and filed 3 separate reports. "I want them to escalate," she said. "Why?" "Because the louder they get, the more attention we draw, and the more stupid they look." 2 days later it worked. Brent reappeared. Not in a statement. Not on the news. In person. He showed up during the day alone, standing at the edge of our property line. I saw him before Claire did. But I let her walk out first. She didn't say anything. Just stood on our side of the boundary, arms crossed. He raised his hands. "I didn't authorize the snake." Claire blinked once. "I didn't even know about the grant fraud," he added. "The forms, someone else." Claire interrupted. "You signed them." His mouth moved, then stopped. "I just wanted control," he said. "That road, it used to be quiet. I wanted it back." Claire didn't yell. She didn't lecture. She just said, "You should go home, Brent. You're not in charge anymore." He left. This time for good. Within a week, the county issued a statement confirming formal investigation. 2 civil suits were filed. Brent resigned from the HOA. And Claire? She got a letter. From the sheriff's department. Asking her to lead a rural landowner safety seminar for county deputies on how to legally support non-HOA homeowners facing harassment. I watched her read it at the kitchen table. She didn't say anything. Just smiled, small, quiet, satisfied. We held a second forum 2 weeks later. The turnout doubled. This time Claire didn't just present. She trained. And when the new HOA board tried to send a representative, the sheriff himself blocked them at the gate. "You've done enough," he said. "Time to let them lead." They tried to intimidate her. Now she trains the sheriff's office. There's a kind of silence that comes after a storm, not empty but full. That was our land now. So, watchful. At peace. The signs on the edge of our property read, "Private land, non-HOA, access protected by law." And just beneath that, a smaller plaque Claire carved herself. "Know your line." It wasn't a warning. It was a declaration. The county seminar took place on a brisk Saturday morning inside a clean white room at the Deputy Training Center. 10 deputies, 1 sheriff, and Claire standing at the front in jeans, boots, and a green tactical fleece. She didn't speak with command. She didn't need to. She asked a simple question. "How many of you have responded to a complaint from an HOA officer?" Every hand went up. "How many of you verified if the complaint was legal?" 3 hands stayed up. "How many of you knew that impersonating a compliance officer can carry felony charges in this state?" None. That's how Claire started changing things, not with a lawsuit or a megaphone but with awareness. She walked them through footage from our own driveway, not for drama but for clarity. She listed the statutes. She handed out a guidebook Diane and she had co-written. The line between power and permission, a deputy's guide to HOA overreach. The sheriff asked for 50 more copies. Meanwhile, our community transformed. The new HOA board, what was left of it, issued a public apology. Not dramatic. Just a 2-paragraph email that started with, "We failed to uphold our responsibilities. We allowed fear to replace fairness." Brent disappeared. Sold his house. Rumor was he moved to Flagstaff. Someone said he joined a hiking club. I hope he finds peace, far from boundary lines and clipboards. But the landowners? The quiet ones? They got louder. Lucia started a blog. She titled it Fencepost Files. It featured before and after photos of properties cleaned under HOA threats, now restored under truth. Donnie started leading patrols, but of a different kind. Volunteer watches, unarmed, friendly, checking in on elderly landowners and offering help with fencing or tech. And Beth? The widow who once cried over a chicken coop fine? She ran for county zoning board. And won. Claire said it best one night while walking the fence line with me. They tried to centralize power. We decentralized it. That's how you beat bullies who hide behind forms. You give people tools, not orders. A month after the forum, Claire received a letter from the governor's rural development office. They wanted to meet. Turned out, the Valley Now footage had reached state officials. They were drafting new guidelines on rural easement disputes and sought her consultation. When I read the letter, I looked at her and said, "Think they're ready for you?" She smiled. "I don't care if they are. I'm bringing the binder." At home, life settled into a rhythm. Chickens were louder. The solar array needed less checking now that we'd reinforced the mount. And Claire? She'd started teaching self-defense again, private lessons, free for any landowner within 20 miles. One woman drove from 3 towns over after being fined for unregistered garden fencing. Claire taught her how to write a rebuttal and how to break a wrist hold in the same hour. She called it letters and locks. It caught on. So we built a space. The old barn, cleaned out, reinforced, floored with mats and lined with shelves of guides, case files, tools, and a Keurig. Locals started calling it the outpost. Sometimes I'd sit on the porch, sipping coffee, listening to laughter echo off the trees as Claire taught a dozen people how to fight, think, and stand. Not loud. Just right. One morning a new face showed up. Teenager. Thin. Nervous. Holding a rolled-up citation from an HOA 2 counties over. Claire knelt to meet his eyes. He handed her the paper and whispered, "They said we couldn't plant anything unless we paid a landscaping tax." My mom's scared. Claire stood, handed him a bottled water and said, "You're in the right place." That moment stuck with me. Because that's what this was all about. Not revenge. Not exposure. Just defense scaled out. And paid forward. That summer, the state launched a pilot program using Claire's materials. New name. Rural Rights Education and Enforcement Partnership, RREP. She didn't trademark anything. Didn't demand credit. Just said, if it means one fewer person opens their door to intimidation and thinks they're alone, it's worth it. They sent her a plaque. She used it to hold down paperwork in the barn. Later that year we hosted an anniversary potluck for the original Drive members, the 5 who'd started it all. There were stories. Laughter. One guy played guitar. Diane brought cookies shaped like no trespassing signs. As the sun dipped, Claire stood up with a mason jar in hand and said, "We're not warriors because we wear uniforms. We're warriors because we protect our ground, our truth, and each other." Here's defenses that don't divide, but define. We all raised our glasses. Beth teared up. Even Donnie sniffed. As for me, I stayed doing what I do best: quiet systems, steady repairs, documentation. But now my name shows up in the credits of Claire's work, and that's more than enough. We keep the drive updated. We still get letters, people from all over the country now, asking for templates, sharing stories, and we answer. Every single one. Because that's the thing about intimidation. It works best in silence. And we don't do silence anymore. Not here. Not on our line.